All right, this is sort of an unusual racing news show, but I'm here in Lourdes in France for a UCI Downhill test event to see just some of the changes for this year and actually catch up with some of the fastest racers. Okay, so there's a lot of changes coming into this 2023 UCI World Cup downhill season. So we're going to speak to some of the key players and the top riders to see what they think about these format changes. Right, I'm here with Laurie Greenland, former junior world downhill champion, and now, what are you, the technical director for the ESO for Gravity?
Yeah, director of sport for Gravity for ESO. Yeah, in charge of it, I guess.
Going up in the world. Anyway, tell us about this. What is the downhill test event?
So this is an official downhill test event. So it's basically all the elite teams coming to a venue they all know and love, which is Lourdes. So this was the opening round of the World Cup last year. And it's really just an opportunity for us and the teams and the riders just to kind of have a dry run of everything before the season starts. So a lot of big changes this year with regards to format, production, that side of things. Course marking's another massive one. So it just gives us an opportunity ahead of the season to really dive into the detail, try some things, get the feedback from the riders and teams, and then we roll into Lenside for round one, take that feedback, put it to good use and be ready to go.
Yeah, so there are quite a few big changes here, including the qualies and semi-finals, so points available for all those. Mm-hmm. What's the reaction been so far to that from the riders?
I think it's different. I mean, mountain bikers are notorious for not kind of embracing change. You know, when 29ers came out, everybody gave them a lot of hate, and then I think pretty much everybody in the field today will be riding with at least one 29-inch wheel. So it's been tough, but I think this weekend again was like a really good example of trialing it. The 2-time runs formats today, I specifically made the turnaround time between them pretty short. So I think it was a couple hours for most riders, which would be like the minimum turnaround time they'll face from the semi-final to the final when we get to World Cups. So again, it's just having that ability to try these things in a kind of real world environment, but without the kind of pressures of ultimately a race at the end of the day. But I'm sure, as you probably saw, a lot of them were, you know, you try telling them that, they very much thought it was a race.
Well, it looked like a race to me, and it was really good fun to watch. And it looked like we've got some happy riders as well, so that's got to be a success in your book.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, when all this kind of change has happened, it's easy to get lost in, you know, the big names involved. And, you know, from my side, you know, it wasn't so many years ago that I actually was racing here. Seeing all the riders in person, I still know a lot of them personally. So seeing them face to face, chatting through their concerns, getting that feedback, and then ultimately being able to, you know, to change and make things better for everybody is what it's about. So, no, it's been a really, really productive few days. Yeah, shame the weather kind of turned, but, you know, it is outdoor sport. At the end of the day, you can't choose it. But yeah, really, really positive. Had a lot of good conversations, a lot of good things to go and think about, and ultimately change and make right for Lenside.
All right, here with Laurie Greenland, getting ready for the World Cup season. How's it been so far at the test event?
Test event so far has been real good. Like, the morning was real cool. Track walk yesterday, it kind of feels like a dress rehearsal, which is kind of nice because normally we're straight in at the deep end, but we've had some heinous weather come in and the track's really dangerous. So can't really imagine it being harder to get down in places. So I just took the afternoon off, to be honest.
Okay, cool. And there's a lot of changes this year, but also with like scheduling, there's qualifying, semi-finals, finals. You're going to do some of a dress rehearsal for that tomorrow. What are your initial thoughts on that stuff?
So far, there's been some things that I've been quite keen on and some things not so keen on, but I think people are really scared of change, which is just a classic thing. Like, I'm open to a bit of change, but we all care so much about the sport, sometimes it's hard to like loosen the grip, I guess. So some of it looks pretty cool. I think as long as the point system is still finals heavy in points, then I'm happy to go ahead. I think don't want to turn it into a kind of a stage race too much, but as long as it's finals heavy points, then I'm pretty happy to go racing, you know.
I guess more than ever, you know, the semi-finals, the overall is always won by the most consistent rider, but that's going to play out in the overall as well. As far as getting yourself ready for racing this year, are you using this event particularly for bike setup, or do you feel you're ready to go?
So we've been working on this new V10.8 bike, so we've been in the Southern Hemisphere going pretty hard getting ready, so we're kind of using it more to just scope everything out. There's so much changed, even just the way the course is marked, everything like that, so we're kind of scoping this week. We've done a lot of good work already getting the bike ready. We're going to Portugal next week for some Fox testing, and then doing another team camp where we're going to kind of do another dress rehearsal of how the schedule might look as well. So we're getting just a bit of a scope this week, really.
And like you said, we've got some pretty tough weather, and this place is like notorious for being hard in this weather. Tomorrow, that we're going to do those semi-finals, finals. How do you feel about putting a time in? Are you going to play it safe, or, you know, once the stopwatch is out, things change?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's going to give it a go. I'm going to go up pretty early tomorrow, scope the track out. It's kind of hard because normally when it rains like this, you've got 300 plus riders going down. It like churns up the ground within a few runs, and then you can kind of start to release again and then go pretty hard. But with this little riders riding this afternoon, it's just like that top ice rink layer. I did 2 runs with it and it just wasn't disappearing. When it's like that, it's so dangerous. So decided to wait until it cuts up a bit. I did my sacrificial couple runs, and then hopefully it'll be bedded in tomorrow and pretty good to lay some times down, I think.
Well, I think if there's any mud left on the hill after Ronan Dunn's been putting the runs in to churn up the track as well, I think.
What a guy. He's sacrificed it for us. He's put the ruts in. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be good if he's been up there. Cheers, Ronan.
All right, this guy is Steve Pete. He's been around the block. You've done a bit of racing yourself. You've got more sort of history and downhill than most people in this pit. So what do you think about the semi-finals and finals and the points and how it could play out at the end of the year?
I think more racing is good, especially for the fans. It should make it a tighter series, like at the end of it all. I've always loved the World Cup and the overall series. Maybe that's why I didn't win so many World Championships, but I won a few overall series, and I think that's like more of a level playing field for the whole field, and those points now will make it a little bit closer. You've got a semi-final and a final, and the boys and girls are going to have to race harder in semi-finals. They're not going to have to treat it like a qualifier anymore. It's a semi-final with decent points, so it's going to make the racing more exciting.
I mean, from my side of the fence, I was the guy that had to go flat out in qualifying to make sure I was in the final. But that's kind of different now. But you think those riders, the top riders in the semi, are going to go flat out?
Yeah, if they want to win their overall, they're going to go flat out. As soon as they hear the beeps in the start gate, those boys want to go fast. So, yeah, they're going to have to go flat out to points make prizes.
The Downhill World Cup pits has been missing Tiny Seagrave for a little while now after complications from a head injury sustained in a crash last year. Okay, so I'm catching up with Tiny Seagrave. You had a big tumble this morning, decided not to race, but how are you feeling?
I don't want to celebrate too early because obviously I was looking forward to get a crash out of the way, definitely, but I did kind of tap my head a little bit on the floor, so I was so scared to relive what I've already been through, so there's a lot of apprehension there, and I'm trying hard not to stress about it because the last time around my symptoms came a bit later. So I think in a week's time, if I'm still all good, then I'll definitely celebrate the fact that I've kind of ticked that last box of crashing again. But yeah, for now I feel like it's just normal for me to be a little bit stressed of what's going to follow.
Yeah, I mean, it's so difficult. You're always going to fall off a downhill bike that you've got to get through, I suppose. But how did it feel? I mean, it was all pretty positive before that. It's great to see you back in the downhill pits. How did it feel?
Yeah, it felt amazing to be back. I didn't have anything in mind for here, really. I wasn't even sure I was going to ride. I've done a good couple of weeks on the bike with the team, so I wasn't sure if I was ready, but I felt really good, and in practice I felt really good as well. So then when it rained a bit, I was like, well, like I said, I'm going to have to tick this off at some point, and I was feeling good, so I thought, why not? So I think it was just a little bit unfortunate, but either way, the process is going well, and I want to be back racing this year, hopefully, yeah.
So although today definitely isn't a race day, we saw riders going hard. In the tricky conditions, it was very wet yesterday, and we know this place with the stone is really slippery. We saw Tiny Seagrave with a big crash this morning on her comeback from injury last year, so she decided to sit out the race, quite sensible. And then into what was the semi-finals, Valley Hall took a big tumble by the looks of it and decided not to start the finals. Nina Hoffman did take those semi-finals, took the win there, and actually into the finals, Gracie Hemstreet took the win from Nina Hoffman and Isabella Yankova in third. In the men's field, we've got quite a few of the big players here. So we've got the fast Frenchies, got Amélie Pirion, Lotte Bruni and Thibaut Dupreya, plus Jackson Golston, Laurie Greenland, loads of good riders. And actually a bit of the story this weekend is a couple of those junior riders who are coming up to elite this year. Jackson Golston being one, Jordan Williams the other, the young specialised rider. So Jordan Williams was the last man on track because they reseed from the semi-finals, and he was going really well, 1.7 seconds up at the final split, and then had a crash. Treacherous conditions up there, but really interesting to see that those two, Jordan and Jackson coming up to elite this year are going to be proper legit racers. Top three in the men's race were Lotte Bruni, Jackson Golston and Thibaut Dupreya. Let's catch up with the winners of the Not a Race. Right, I'm outside the Norco pits with Gracie Hemstreet. You were the fastest lady today. How was it on track?
It was definitely slippery. Practice this morning. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But yeah, it got better throughout the day, and yeah, it was good.
And it's not a race, but there was times, there was a podium. And does it feel like you wanted to perform and try and beat the other ladies?
Well, yeah, that's always the goal. But definitely this race, I was not pushing it at all. I was just taking a chill. But yeah, ended up good. So stoked.
And how's your schedule at now? There's still a little bit of time pre-Lenzheide. Are you back over to Canada getting ready?
Yeah, back to Canada, and I have one race in the US, and then a training camp, and then, yeah, back to Lenzheide.
Okay, amazing. Well done today, and we'll look forward to seeing you at Lenzheide. Right, here's our fastest man down the hill today, Thibaut Dupreya. Some challenging conditions. How was it out there?
It was crazy, so wild, really slippery, but really funny, and you need to be really smooth on the bike. So managed to do that and try to save and not crash, even if it was almost that. Yeah. So now really stuck on that and on the speed.
And officially it wasn't a race, but we've got a load of fast riders on the hill. Did it feel like a race to you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm feeling for a lot of riders. We are all also trying to push, not too hard, because you can push hard in this condition. But yeah, I try to do my best and try to take it as a race. And it was a good training.
Amazing. Congratulations, and we'll see you in Lenzheide.
For sure. Thank you.
In other mountain bike racing news, the Four Islands stage race has been taking place over in Croatia. It's a 5-day race over 4 Croatian islands, 291 kilometres with 6,100 metres of climbing. Lucas Baum and George Egger, the 2023 Cape Epic runners-up, took their first ever win at the Four Islands stage race. After winning all 4 stages except the prologue, the German duo are the well-deserved winners. In the UCI women's category, Bettina Janas and Kim Ames took home the title. Finally, the amateur entries are open at the UCI World Series. If you want to take part in Enduro and Marathon alongside the pros this year, get your entry in. Okay, so the mechanics are washing bikes and packing up. The action's over here in Lourdes, but if you want to see all the action from the UCI Mountain Bike World Series this year, head over to GCN Plus, get yourself a subscription for all the action from all the World Cups this year, plus live elite finals in downhill, cross country and short track.